Hello, and welcome to the March 2025 edition. I had to look at the slides. I'm going to start over. Hello, and welcome to the March 2025 edition of the Tough Love Arena State of the Game stream. I'm your host, M. Paul Weeks, and I will be here to tell you all about the state of the game. What did we do last month? What is the current state of the game balance-wise? What do you, most importantly, as a player, have to look forward to in the near future? We've got a bunch of announcements. And then we will give a brief update for my other game, Scramble Hard City. We'll take a look at the monthly survey, which if you haven't filled out yet, hopefully someone can post in chat for me. Otherwise, I will paste it in just a second. And then we will do our usual Q&A. Let me grab that link real quick, because people still have about 20 minutes to fill it out. Plop it in over there, and let's get started. So, past. What did we do in roughly the month of February? A bunch of patch notes. So fixed some bugs with menus, fixed some bugs with lobbies, did a bunch more iteration on cabinet mode. For those who don't know, we have physical arcade cabinets for Tough Love Arena now. The second one is being built as we speak, and the operator of that wants to have a coin-operated control, so players will pay either quarters or tokens in order to play the game. I made my first draft of the logic of okay, this is how it would work, and this is how it will integrate with the existing sort of arcade cabinet event mode that I built. And then I realized that I was separating the coin pool for no reason. So got some good notes from my arcade friends and fixed that up. Added some features. And then also some modding changes that I will explain later why those got added. The present. What is the current state of the game? From a character balance perspective, the one outstanding change that I haven't had a chance to go back to is reworking Noodle's jump cancel, specifically the timing, or if not the timing, how it interacts with parries. Again, my hope, my ambition is to have this be a more general revisiting of all the jump cancels, but this is the main move that needs to be fixed. If I can fix it as part of the structural pass that I already wanted to do, all the better. But that is currently on pause, and I will say, anecdotally, maybe we'll find out in the survey I'm wrong, but I believe that the scaling nerfs we implemented on Onion and Beef a month or two ago have been relatively well received. Again, not gutting the characters, but helping downgrade them a little bit, helping them feel a little less explosive and a little less dominant. So both successful, or one that I'm planning to do, and one recent successful change. Good vibes, exactly. Good vibes, giant impact. The future. This is the big one. What do you, my lovely audience, have to look forward to? So first things first, most importantly, the April Fool's Tournament. So in the grand tradition of the last 3 years, we will have, last 4 years? I can't even keep count. We will have an official April Fool's Tournament. This means that we will have an April Fool's patch that will go live on April 1st and will dramatically change the gameplay for all 6 base game characters. Now, unfortunately, the Friday didn't line up as well as it did last year. Last year it was on April 5th, which gave a solid 5 days so that people had a chance to learn the characters and experiment with them before the tournament. This time it would have been April 4th. That was cutting it a little too close, in my opinion. So we have moved it to the following Friday, giving people a full 10 days and a weekend to try out the characters, try to learn them, try and get in some optimal stuff. And then after the tournament, we will revert the game, because some people don't like the April Fool's versions of the characters, and I don't want them to be unable to play Tough Love Arena for a whole month. So, unlike other seasonal changes, seasonal skins that go live for the whole month, this will just be a 11, 12 day affair. But I'm super excited for it. We have these lovely modders listed here who have spent the last month building out characters and playtesting and doing all sorts of stuff, in addition to a bunch of other people, including some of the people from last year who are not making mods this year, but have been very helpful in advising and balancing these guys. So they've been doing very crazy, super cool work so far. And this is part of the modding changes. I'm getting some feature requests from them, and I've been implementing them. So I expect a few more modding patch notes to go out in the next week or so as I try and unblock them. Senkyo, I think it's 2/3 of them are the same. Okin and Clover new. And Stays is new. Okay, Stays is new. So there's some overlap. I gave everyone from last year the option to do it again because I was very pleased with last year and I wanted to reward that. And a bunch of them very generously offered up their spot and basically said, I want to give someone else a chance. So thankfully we were able to get in some new blood and they seem to be really running with it. So this will, as per usual, as with all the major tournaments, it will replace... Ooh, this is wrong. Shoot. I don't stream tournaments anymore. This will be at Shiggy Beats. So you'll see, we'll announce it everywhere, but as per usual, this will replace the normal Tough Love Gauntlet tournament. We will not be running a Matcherino because it's crazy modded characters, but there will be skins up for grabs and a premium account as per usual. Now a bunch of offline stuff. So GDC, the Game Developers Conference, is in frighteningly like 10 days. I didn't realize it was that soon. We are not going to have an official presence, but I'm going to be attending for my first time, trying to network and generally check it out. So if you are attending or if you're in San Fran, please let me know. I'm going to be there like a whole week. I would love to meet up or do some sort of TLA something. So definitely don't be a stranger. Waffle Games, this is my 3rd year doing it. It's a little local college con here in New York City. Put on some lovely students. It's a combination of like a mini con where people expo their games and some talks. And I believe soft confirmed to do both. I'll be boothing the new game and giving an updated version of my talk about fighting game design. So that's in early April. Level Up Expo, I will be tabling Scramble Heart. It will just be me there, so feel free to come bully me / keep me company. We might have some limited merch at that point, at least, or whether for sale or just giving away, like bags and keychains and stuff. I've never been to this event before, so I'm excited to check it out. I understand it's like a general gaming convention type vibe. Combo Breaker, big one that we're super excited for. We will be boothing both Tough Love Arena and Scramble Heart side by side just like last year. We are confirmed to have a community tournament for Scramble Heart. We do not have one for Tough Love, unfortunately. I think there was just too much competition and they could only give us one and they chose Scramble Heart. So super excited to have our first official Scramble Heart side tournament. Sadly, no TLA this time. I will be there. Some of my artists will be there. Still working on some of the logistics for all of them, but Phil will also, I think it's safe to say, Phil will be there helping me man the TLA booth, and we'll have all the usual TLA merch and hopefully some merch for Scramble Heart as well. Super excited for this event. They've always been very good to us. That's all I could say. Super pumped. If you're in the Midwest, highly recommend you check out Combo Breaker. And lastly, what is my upcoming dev work? So this month I'm just going to be busy prepping for April Fools. That includes both pushing some modding patches in the next week to give new tools to our developers, and then also probably the last week of March, starting to integrate the April Fools characters, make sure they work, all that kind of stuff. So just to recap, I think we have at least one event like every month. I think it's safe to say, I can't confirm anything yet, so I didn't make a slide for it, but we are in talks for exhibiting at CEO and exhibiting at EVO. So nothing official yet, but we should have news either way by next State of the Game. And that's CEO is June in Florida, and EVO is this year, I think it's August, in Vegas. Yes, Brick Eater, to answer your question, it's kind of in there. It's sort of intentionally undocumented. The April Fools people are testing it out for me right now. But yeah, the ability that anywhere where you would have a cancel, I press, 5H, what do I get? it could be one of many random stuff. No, I cannot break here. That is a special treat just for the April Fool modders. But don't worry, everyone will have access to it one way or another in a month. Brief Scramble Hard City update. We've started doing offline playtests for our 4th character, currently named Shadow. I've got a few ideas of what to name her officially, but if you look in the Scramble Heart Discord, that's what her channel is called. We are currently implementing character number 5, Robot. The goal is to have both of them. Like, Shadow still has a few missing pieces, some reused animation here or there, some placeholder stuff. And Robot has most of their attacks, and now we're like filling out some of their basic animations, like getting hit, blocking, running, that sort of stuff. The goal was to have both of them like pretty polished, like still black and white rough art, but pretty polished gameplay wise in time for Combo Breaker. We're definitely on track for that. So we'll definitely have Shadow playable, probably Robot in time for level up. But they might both be still a little rough around the edges. But if you're at Combo Breaker, you get to try all 5 characters. I continue to work with the engine team on fixing the crashes. The reason why we haven't had in our playtest since November is just because there were so many stability issues at that time, and they're worse right now because we've added more art and more memory. Our memory costs are higher than they were then. So we are actively working on the fix now. There's been a lot of very promising progress in the last 2 weeks. As soon as we get that in and we have it working with confidence, I would love to resume online events. And lastly, Mike has been making a bunch of new stages and also revisiting some of our previous ones like Rooftop to try a different art style. We're rethinking a lot of our art direction in that how can the stage art and the VFX art best complement and mix with the lovely character art we already have. Thank you, She. I did it myself last night. So, now let's move on to the survey. Pop over here. Or how do I... Is it settings? How do I stop? There we go. No more responses. So, again, I think what we did last time, and I really liked it, is we'll just blast through all the bars real quick, all the really high-level stuff, and then we'll go back and start scrolling through the questions. Or the longer or shorter form answers. Thanks, Doom Murky. I don't know how to take that. How fun do you think TLA is playing? Very fun. Very easy. Good depth. Very likely to recommend. Still more than likely to recommend to experienced players. Wait, no, I read these out of order. Deep. Very likely to play again. Likely to recommend. Slightly less likely to recommend to experienced players. Noodle is above average strong and very fun. Rice is above average strong and just barely above average fun. Beef is above average strong and very fun. Whoops. Pork is just barely above average strong and very fun. Onion is very strong, very fun. Garlic is very strong, very fun. That is amazing. The first 4 characters are all basically the same, and then the 2 spices are the same. But I'm happy to see that every character is considered above average on both metrics. Wonderful to see. Now let's go back and read through some of these notes. So, for Noodle, if you could add, remove, buff, nerf one thing, what would it be? Noodle's a hardworking character that's earned their damage. I think they're in a good place. Good to know. Thank you. What if Noodle had a chip option from Whip like Rice does? Oh, they do. It's called Trample. I'm pretty sure Trample chips. It's not great for that purpose. But you can trample your way in and then force RPS. Oh, you can't anymore. I was gonna say you could trample your way in on block and then force RPS of Frenzy, but you can't now that Throw just beats both. Damn, Noodle sucks. Scramble doesn't cancel. Oh, it doesn't cancel from whip. My brain. I'm sorry. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I'm in Scramble Town. I'm in the city. I forgot all about the arena. That would be interesting, but there's no real way to do it without designing a new move. Noodle kind of has it with the soup, but not really. You can sort of plant a soup on them. No, whip and a trample not existing, I think, was a very intentional thing, because it would give you what meats have of like heavy RC, and they're still standing. That was a very intentional not thing. If I could add one thing, I'd make it so Noodle could throw his bowls like last April Fools. I was kind of a big fan of it. I feel like it made Noodle a really fun character to play and wasn't too obnoxious to play against. I would buff nothing, because no matter what anyone tells you, neither carbs need buffs. They're literally busted and really annoying to fight. I agree, especially in Dittos. It's not like I play carbs or anything, because that would make this entire thing pretty biased. But yeah, make Noodle cool, but give him more options with soup. I nerf Frenzy so it isn't a brain-dead anti-air that somehow catches Rice jump cancel it shouldn't. Really? Rice jump cancel isn't fast enough. I wonder if it has like a lot of landing lag or something. I will go back and relook at the April Fools. I don't remember this. The only thing I remember, honestly, the only thing I remember from April Fools last year is Rice's like crazy stances. That was Rice, right? That was Rice, not Noodle. Where Rice would like turn around and then like throw the lemon behind him and stuff. I will admit that kind of like obscured a lot of the other characters. Oh, and like Beef had C4. He could throw out a piece of meat and explode it later. That's what I remember. I will think about it. I'm open to things that don't require new animation, basically. Delicious character, rich flavors, compliments to the chef. Rice. Underrepresented weeklies recently. Interesting observation. I don't think that's something I have control over, though, or that I necessarily should influence. What if Rice could teleport backwards, but it had increased recovery? I really didn't want... The reason that teleport went forward on day one was because I didn't want him to be able to run away. It has had issues. Teleporting a short distance back with a decent amount of recovery would theoretically work. At that point, it would just basically be Garlic's backflip, I guess, which would be the argument against it. I don't think it's necessary right now. It's potentially a pretty big paradigm shift. And my bigger concern is honestly the inputs. How would you input that in a way that you could consistently get backwards teleport versus forwards teleport? Anytime I've tried to do like direction and then slam for like an empty cancel, I kind of regret it. Jumps kind of work because you have a good amount of time, but it's not a bad idea. I'll think about it. That's my gut reaction. I'll think about it. Thank you. Personally, I would remove dive kick and replace it with air teleport. I feel Rice is lacking options in terms of ways to teleport. Even with the quick port. I wonder if quick port may set the expectation that Rice should be teleporting more. The problem with air teleport, in my opinion, or ways that I've tried to do air teleport, is like, what is that option? What does it accomplish as a function? And then is that an option that's really messed up for them to have, or is it worthless? I feel like a fair version of an air teleport would just kind of be like Garlic Sneak, essentially, at that point, which to me would just like take away from the specialness of Garlic. So I can't read jokes. I don't understand jokes. But that is my honest reaction to that. I'm more open to an idea like this than something like this. And I do actually really like the dive kick. I like what the role that a dive kick has in his kit as a normal zoning character, as a way to sort of like suddenly surprise you. Rice is a pretty boring top-tier zoner if I'm being honest. After playing him for so long, I feel like I can only enjoy myself playing a playstyle similar to Hitaka. I guess he kind of pioneered this quick port Rice meta, and I guess as a fan of his, I really wish quick port had grab on whiff to really mix things up on Rice. Or like any other button. I assume they're talking about how like right now you can raw teleport into grab, but quick port doesn't have that functionality. Or like any other button. I buff nothing because you don't need any more Rice players to make me question why I play vanilla. Buff SWAT and make it so it's air vulnerability. I assume this means air invulnerability to make it a good anti-air. Paul, no. Hitaka fan, I hate Rice players, I want them to die. Wujen Onion players, press 6C. I lost track of the thread here. I think you should nerf swipe and buff quick port as a compensation buff. What would be the nerf to swipe? You can put emojis in survey. Please use that knowledge responsibly. SWAT and quick ports do not seem to find their place on the palette, but the rest of the character is a culinary delight. Again with the chef. I know SWAT is underpowered right now. That's a known issue. I should have included it in the slide. Interesting to see conflicting feelings about quick port. I feel like quick port should be a very optional tool. It's a very like if you want to play them this way you can. Otherwise you can play them just more standard zonery, in which case they would not fit on your palette. But all good feedback. Thank you very much. Yeah, definitely would make it optimal. Though I like it's supposed to be a mental stack thing. It's meant to be not great if you know what's coming. Like Sneak. Beef. Beef is a good boy. No scaling penalty on Air Lemon at least. I'm not married to this, so when I added scaling penalties to Lemon to nerf Beef's like punish on something like Frenzy, I felt like I should add it to Air Lemon, both because it was a little messed up that he was like the only character with a jump in that didn't scale, even if it was really slow, and also because then it just felt consistent. It's the same projectile. Using it as a starter has downsides. I think consistency, having predictable rules is very important for game design. So I don't think it's worth taking it off. I think Air Lemon still has a purpose because it has more range than its normal jump in. It still beats a handful of options. So, respectfully disagree. Beef's neutral is just too weak. Is this the joke? He needs a way to win neutral. Okay, yeah, this is a joke. I propose we had virtual spiral swords. Modders, spiral lemons, maybe. God, I'm sure you could design like a lemon projectile that sort of like rotates around him like a belt. Also, Air Lemon should be removed and replaced with Air Grill Time. All right, moving on. Beef players will deadass look at you with the straightest face and try to convince you that this character is balanced. Well, guess what? It's not. I still think Lemon RC needs to be nerfed 4 months later. Oh, but it costs meter. Hey man, getting meter on Beef is the easiest thing ever. Ooh, yeah. Okay, so this is the emoji person. We've got the joke person, the emoji person, and the chef person. Ooh, Onion's better. You're both busted. Add nothing. Remove his RC. Buff nothing. Nerf his Lemon. Parry and make it so it does 0 chip damage. Noted. Hearty filling character. Hearty filling character. A soulful meal that might have had a bit of kick taken out of it by the recent Lemon skilling nerfs, but whether it needs that sprucing up or is better off as is honestly hard to tell. Compliments to the chef. Compliments received. Okay. Pork. Take a drink. Pork anti-air is a little rough, but they're in an okay place. I believe they are the weakest out of the cast. I would not be surprised if they are still the weakest out of the cast. as has been sort of consensus for a while. I don't think their anti-air is rough because at the end of the day, meats have jump, which is a fucked up anti-air. It's low reward, but it is so brain dead. For the love of God, please give Caber Fake slightly more recovery. Someone is... Oh, we have a lot of pork write-ups. Okay. I just noticed the scroll bar. Do you understand how awful it is to be put through the reaction blender every day? 5HS4, 5HS4, 5HS4. Is that all you do? Is that all? I can't take it anymore. React to Caber, eat a 5H. Don't press on fear 5H, eat a Caber. Oh, that's amazing. That is working as intended. That's lovely. Thank you for this. Thank you for this gift. Pork needs a reverse beat. No, for the purpose of reverse beat canceling, palm chop and the first hit of uppercut are all considered. Okay, so that must be the joke one. More damage. Entertaining this for a second. The question is, where do you put the damage? I don't think the damage should go on any of the buttons that are shared with beef. And I don't want to start creating the rule where, like, Noodle's whip does 10% more damage than Rice's whip, that kind of stuff. So the damage would either go on probably chop raw, chop... I would decrease the chop scaling as a starter. I don't think that's correct. Or Caber, either on the hit or in the scaling it incurs. I'm also not convinced that that's necessarily the correct move. So I don't know how I would accomplish this. That's just one thing I wanted to share. All that said, I don't think I do want to accomplish this. I don't think that that is necessary. I don't think that's Pork's issue. I don't think he's a low damage character, and I don't think the correct way to buff characters is by giving them more damage. It's usually about options. There's extremes, of course, but yeah, Shiggy says it's not damage, it's earning damage. That's sure, it's fun, Doomer. Yeah, anything could be fun. Alright, someone's typing all caps. Paul, please actually consider nerfing Caber Fake. I generally do not deal with the action blender. I'm sorry, Kerbo, that is... You've got the psychology wrong. That only convinces me that it should stay. That is, to evoke such a passionate response from the worst character is... It warms my heart. Okay. 4 months later and 50 grab guys later, I think I can confidently say Pork is still ass. Please make it so he can use his grab and combos for coolness points. I feel like Pork literally has the same combo structure as Beef, but different animations, and it's kinda lame, because all the other characters combo differently from their counterparts. That's an interesting point. And that's rad, and I wish Pork wasn't an old crippled man of no arms when he fought Rice. Add new combo structure, remove old combo structure, lame. Nerfs only breaks Pork players' mental state down more. Buff their mentality instead so they switch to a better character so they can stop complaining about it in the battles discussion. Whoa. This is fun. I like this. This is fun. This is fun. Thank you all. Doing these streams is a treat. Okay. Trying to pick out the actual parts in here. That is a valid observation. That his combo structure is different. I think in the beginning, meaning January 2021, characters were closer. Garlic and onions aren't that different. Garlic is just onions combos. Oh no, but he has sneak. Garlic has sneak. That's a meaningful difference. I can't remember if sneak comboed or if it was good at comboing at launch, or if that's something that like came up later. But Rice and Noodle have definitely diverged as their kits have changed more and more, and as they've gotten additional command normals essentially. And yeah, Beef and Porks are very similar. Now, pork, you could argue that beef's is more lame, because at least pork does have the close knockdown route of palm chop. But, and who can forget caber fake and all the fun resets. If anything, my takeaway from this is that I wouldn't change pork, I would change beef. I don't know how, though. So it's a valid observation, and I'll definitely take it to heart. It's like whoever DM'd me on Twitter 4 years ago and made the observation that characters with parries essentially feel like they have one less special move. And that really resonated with me. But it took me a while to figure out. I'm still not convinced I've solved it, but it took me a while to start iterating on it because I wasn't sure what the solution would be. Interesting. Don't expect it to change at this point, in this late in the game, but it's interesting, and I appreciate the feedback, and I appreciate you making me laugh. I propose that Caber receives an extended recovery animation on hit and the ability to RC. Interesting, making its function similar to Frenzy or SWAT. No combo, no Oki, modestly plus without meter. Excuse me. Sorry, just didn't get much sleep last night. Full access to current juggles and Oki when spending a bar. Caber's meterless reward, outshining throw in all respects, seems to necessitate many of its frustrating cons, such as lower range, slower startup, and being techable on reaction even when using standard Caber. In other words, an extremely polarized design that serves less to give Caber its own identity and more to put throw and Caber in direct competition. The rework proposed could take strength away from Caber's meterless reward to be reallocated elsewhere, as well as serve to firmly differentiate Caber and regular throw in their roles and functions by introducing the meter cost. That is very interesting. I'm compelled by the suggestion of enabling RCs as a way to like separate a floor and ceiling on Caber. I think that's fascinating. I'm not convinced it would solve the issue of differentiating it from throw. I feel like that might make, just spitballing, like there will always be a place for Caber fake and for like YOLO Cabers, but I think it would, I worry that if I make meterless Caber worse than it currently is, then it would sort of just become like Caber you only do when you're going to burn meter. Again, not trying to be preemptively negative, but that's the fear I would have in terms of incentives it would create. Or want same side, but I feel like usually you just want the throw. So in corner. But also potentially corner, like, depending on how the meter function works, maybe it'd still be a good reward in corner, like uppercut. And or I worry about increasing the ceiling too much on a grab. If meter allows you to do considerably more damage, and then you can just get 2 EX Cabers back to back and kill them, that might not be great. So again, very interesting suggestion that I never considered. Because I think I'd always, from day one, planned on Caber to just, give you a free juggle state. I fear that, like, making this interesting, if I knew this, or if I thought of this 5 years ago, then I would design it more like an SPD that would have, like, a follow-up animation. It would just be like a normal command throw, but you'd have this cool option to RC it in the middle and do stuff. Like, I can see that move in my mind's eye, but we're not going to get that animated at this point. And I don't know what it would look like with the current animation. So, lots of food for thought, but thank you. Let's keep going. Sorry, we're taking a while. Just so many nice, long feedback suggestions. I'm really surprised to still see these. Onion, commonly used, stylish, fun character. I realized that some players were dissatisfied with my suggestion for Hopkick to beat throws in the corner. I now think Hopkick should beat throws and also... okay. Nah. Is this something Anacris's backdash does? What the fuck? Also, I propose we make his platform shoes 2 feet longer. Now that's going too far. Why? Why would you create a monster like Onion? Why is this character still good? This character is not balanced. I get hit once, and he has a 1 bar of meter, and I'm dead instantly. I put everything into the zoning, everything, and then he gets 2 bars, and he just hits me with 6C scales, and kills me. I love the removal of caps lock for this single word. No more chances. Nerf this stupid red cat immediately and make it so ass of his moves do 10 damage, and if you lose on him, you're banned. This is a safe-spaced event. Thank you for sharing that. Fireworks. I'm never ready for it. 1 second. Fireworks for the taste buds. And with the recent change to hopkick scaling, mellowed out just enough to not raise them flat. A most appetizing character. Compliments to the chef. Garlic. Frustrating to fight a good garlic, but not broken. I agree. You should add dashing backflip for shits and giggles. Like you would dash forward and then backflip. I think that might be too strong to be able to like go forward, get in vuln, and then roundhouse. And then it would like potentially overlap with the nice little like do 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 do. So I don't think so. This is supposed to be like the Dark Souls. Filtering. Garlic Paul, I have a mod. Sure, Kerbo, we can go through it on Q&A. DM it to me. Remove Garlic's legs and tape them to Onion's legs. So Onion's legs are twice as long? It saddens me that only my skill level prevents me from defeating Garlic. Profound. Exquisitely done character, seasoned to perfection. Compliments to the chef. Garlic, short and sweet. Very nice. What about TLA originally appealed to you? Free online, friends, free to play, ease of use, browser based. As I was learning fighting games, TLA looked like a bridge from footsies to other fighting games, keeping the simplicity but being a lot closer to regular fighting games. Thank you, that was definitely my intention. I saw all these beginner, as has been stated a million times in the handful of interviews I've given, mostly 4 years ago. I was really enchanted by the idea of all these beginner fighters coming out, accessible fighters. Some of them pitch that way, some of them not. Like Dive Kick, like Fantasy Strike, like Flappy Fighter, like footsies. And my goal was to take a lot of what appealed to me about those, but I felt like all of those in one way or another strayed a little too far from what made a fighting game feel like a fighting game, or made a fighting game feel like what I consider a fighting game. I always felt like there was 1 or 2 gaps that were a little too big. And TLA still has gaps. TLA doesn't teach you how to block high-low. TLA doesn't teach you how to block cross-ups. But that was my take. That was my opinion on where the line should be drawn. And I'm glad it appeals to other people. What originally appealed to me, I guess it was the tournaments. I used to always watch them, and I was a really big fan of Ataka, so I finally decided to build a game up and give it a try. That is awesome! That's super cool. Yeah, should you like a step too far in either trimming things out or, I made my choices on what things to remove, like high-low, because I don't think, in my very personal opinion, that is critical to what defines the texture of a footsie-oriented game like Street Fighter. Whereas, my go-to example, not trying to call them out, I think it's just a difference of opinion, Fantasy Strike not having the ability to bulldog, because there is no crouching, but it's hold back to block. There's no way to block without giving up ground. I think that was too big of a sacrifice. I think that took the game feel too far away from Street Fighter for me. So just different creative decisions. And it's something like, Dive Kick strips fucking way too much out. It's fun, but it's fun on very specific terms that are not, in my opinion, fighting game terms. It's a fighting game in the way that everything's a fighting game. You can go in a mystery game, and I'm not trying to gatekeep, but I'm glad my intention made it through. What What keeps you playing TLA? Free online weekly tournaments. Glad you like these. Modding. Always glad to see one or two of these. Browser-based makes it easy to boot up and play. Also modding. Great. I guess I have to freaking add modding to my new game, don't I? Jesus Christ. It's such a great way to introduce friends to the fighting game genre. It's also easy to hop in and get in a fight without too much lapping. I think what keeps me playing TLA is Hitaka. Ooh, lots of Hitaka love. He's a pretty humble and upstanding community member. It kind of saddens me that his gift perms were removed. What the fuck? Okay, is this just Hitaka? Wait. I'm not gonna check. But now I'm wondering. What upcoming event are you most looking forward to? April Fools? Dating sim mode? Don't hold your breath. Have you shared TLA? They thought it was cool but didn't really play fighting games. Pretty good. Alright. Any other thoughts? Are modders making AF25? And if so, who? I will show that slide again in just a second. Keep up the great work. Thank you for the awesome game. Thank you. You're all very welcome. I think you should give it time. Okay. Is Kevin in chat? Thanks for continued hosting of State of the Games. I'm glad. I got a YouTube comment like a month or two ago from someone saying, we don't get a bunch of YouTube views, but someone just said, like, I watch all of these, thank you for continuing to put them up, and that meant a lot to me, so thank you. And we don't show that part. So that concludes the survey. I will, once again, answer that question. These are our April Fools content creators. Again, we'll be shouting them out way more once the event starts. And now we begin the Q&A. So if you had a question, please post it again. I will not scroll back up, but I will read everything starting now. And we'll do this until we run out of questions or if I get too tired or too cranky. I think someone DM'd me something that I said I would check though, so let me check that real quick. Okay. One moment. Gotta move this in here. Okay. So we will take a look at the mod that Kerbo wanted me to look at. Where did my OBS go? Toughlunreview.com. Excuse me. Load in. Garlic. Run. While this loads up. Kerbo's DM said, input dashing Blackfoot using 5S into 4H. Oh. Like a little wheel kick. Or is this a bicycle kick? There's a bicycle kick when you go the other way. It relaunches but doesn't reset jump. I'm sorry, I'm really coughy. Something stuck in my throat. It relaunches but doesn't reset juggles, enabling something more interesting with combos. It's mostly there just to be cool. Also, you can cancel into dash from 5L, but that's only there for combos that didn't consider the bounce ramifications. Oof. So I could do like this. I can't. Oh my god. Inputs. It's interesting. It's an interesting use of existing sprites. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. It's very creative. I think it kind of like, it serves a lot of the same function as this. As a high reward. This is definitely harder to convert off of and has less range. And maybe there's a world where this is maybe easier to convert off of, like mid combo. That's sort of my that's sort of my thought. Is like, is this necessary to get this function? It looks cool, but is this necessary to get this sort of functionality? Could we instead rework this to serve the same purpose? Now that we have the ability to rejuggle, to regain height without resetting juggle count, is that something just worth re-exploring with all of the launchers? That's a fair question. Okay. Yeah, as Brick Eater says, it just feels like kind of a buffed dash roundhouse. Which is interesting, you know, should we buff dash roundhouse? Okay. Scrolling back up. Shiggy asks, Paul, what did you eat today? I had a 20-ounce bottle of Pepsi for breakfast, and then I had 2 hot dogs from a food cart for lunch. I'm hungry. And Tootsie Pops rolls. I've been eating a lot of Tootsie Pop rolls. Tail says, what happened about rice? Nothing really happened about rice. I agree that SWAT is still underpowered. We talked a bit about, I'm skimming the notes, talked about what it would look like if they had an air teleport. We talked about what it would look like if they could teleport backwards. But nothing concrete. Just interesting conversation. You can watch the VOD. Kerbo says, here's a question. Universal jump cancel and some other moves don't include throw in the cancels. Is this a remnant of there being no throw button? That is a very good point. That could be an opportunity or a good place to put throw. As opposed to, my first instinct would be to like make the input light. But yes, 98% of this game was designed before the throw button existed. So good call out. Thank you. Shiggy says, also pork anti-air does honestly feel a bit rough, especially with spice jump and carb jump timings to avoid spike completely. Oh, is dive kick so fast that it's possible to like bait a meat jump and then as rice you can land and anti-air them? That's interesting. Yeah, Brick Eater. So jump cancels work the way they did because when they were invented, I didn't have a concept of characters having gravity outside of juggles, and if it was a button, you cannot hold buttons, correct? So it either would have been like a 1-frame press, or if it was a variable timing press and you transitioned into your dive kick or whatever, your dive kick would go a fixed distance and then you would be offset from the ground. It's very easy to accidentally recreate this if you do make a modded character. I can actually do it right now very easily because I'm already in this modded character. If I take transition back, if I take this is vanilla garlic outside of that one change, or actually let's just load back up vanilla garlic. If we take jump and we take this one of the frames where they're descending, so they have like here, hover 4, and if we just do it for 1 frame less, then when he jumps, wait, did I do that wrong? Or no, this does it over the. This is probably divided, isn't it? It's not doing it every frame. It's dividing it over 5 frames. So I will demonstrate it instead this way. If I just change this number. if I don't tell him to go exactly 2 extra units or 0.2 units down during his jump, he finishes his jump and then assumes a standing position because this game is janky. So knowing that that's how jumps worked at the time, if I wanted you to transition into a different animation that would then travel its own fixed distance from there to the ground, it needed to know exactly how far that distance would be, so it had to be on an exact frame. That's no longer the case. Now we could have the character fall, do a dive kick until landing, and they will just keep doing it until they hit the ground, and then transition into landing animation or something else. So now that we have that tool, it's possible that I can instead change the jump cancel to just be like, okay, if you press the cancel button at any point after this frame, they'll go into the jump cancel. It means you could delay them potentially very far, or we could like make the window like 10 frames or something, plus your 5-frame input buffer on the front end. That would be fine. We just couldn't do that before. We can do it now. And I think that's just more intuitive than this like hold backwards thing, and also that way you wouldn't get like autocorrect weirdness. So that's the plan. Paul, ad juggles when? I don't know. I might end up doing it for the April Fool's people. I have to see what their list of demands are. I think the answer piece question is jump later. Please lab it. People are talking amongst themselves. Scrolling. I loved Big Apple. Darth says, I just discovered TLA today. Want to tell you how well you did so far. Thank you, Darth. I really appreciate that. Shoot, I didn't even advertise this in the news ticker. If you just discovered TLA today, how did you find out about the stream? I'd love to hear. But either way, thank you for playing it. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for stopping by. Kerbo says, Paul, now that I can speak about April Fools, do you read the AF chat? I skim it occasionally, but you guys move so fast. I kind of gave up at a certain point. Shiggy told me at some point that you were compiling a list of demands, and I've just been very busy with personal life stuff and really time-sensitive work on the new game. So I know I'm kind of dragging my feet. I don't mean to lead you guys on, but I am hoping to have time later this week to get back into the TLA code base and start pumping some of those out for you. This has been a very stressful week. Easton says, for floating, could you just make it so y doesn't equal 0 in characters standing, so you put people in float? Yeah, that's what I'm saying we can do now, Easton. I hadn't thought to go back and change the existing jump moves, but that is another potential like engine option that could exist. I can't remember why I didn't do that. I probably had some reason, or I was dumb. I don't know. That is also a fine suggestion. It might be a good catch-all to put in for situations like this, but I at this point I'd be scared about like breaking certain mods, because sometimes you like go into an airborne state and you want to be able to stay in an airborne state because it's like a hover or it's a jump cancel or something. And if I'm checking for like explicitly standing, I guess if I check for standing, if I'm checking for explicitly standing, then on the frame that you would land, you could press like a punch, and then you would not be standing. So you would start punching in midair, like that kind of stuff. So it's not. I've had similar ideas, I think, in the new game, and it's gotten me into trouble. So that's not I don't think it's the most elegant solution going forward, but it's an interesting suggestion. Deb says, is there a chance in the future we may get the ability to launch the game? I'm sorry, I wasn't showing. I did show this. I showed this part, right, where they're floating. I did show that. I keep forgetting to toggle this thing. I hope I showed that. Please, for the love of God, I hope I showed that. Okay, yes, I did. Okay, thank you, Issa. I know I've been liable to sometimes just not show anything and talk about it for minutes at a time. Dab says, is there a chance in the future we may get the ability to launch the game straight into training mode with mods loaded in? The original plan for mods of having like this big hosted thing is not going to happen. That would have been one way. That's not going to happen. A second way is that I could cache mod files in your local storage. You could sort of just always, assuming you use the same client, same browser, it could just remember like the last 5 mod files you've loaded up. Now, whether that becomes annoying or that's a feature that you toggle on or off. The other problem is that is currently then competing for room with replays. So that is the way that it would be done. How big are character files? Character files are 100 kilobytes. It's not small, and they can be much larger. There could be something like that, but it would have to just be like, oh, I loaded it up and it remembers it between refreshes. I don't think it's feasible to like have it remembered on your pinned on your account, and then when you log in on other places, because I don't want to start storing them in the database just for, again, space constraints, space concerns. Being able to launch the game straight into training mode, you can do right. You would have to load the mod. I was gonna say I've got these super handy new role parameters. I can maybe share a few, or I can. The thing is, I show them blatantly on my stream, like this one. This isn't a secret. If I go to Tough Love Arena / go to mod, it just goes straight into the mod menu. I have these defined for basically every possible menu in the game, and they're very helpful for debugging. However, they don't work unless you run a super secret script first. So if you tried to do this, it wouldn't work. I could maybe relax that. I could maybe enable some of these debug things that are harmless, and they're just a way of like bypassing menus. Brick Eater asks, TK Air Fireball when? Never. List of demands. Doomworky says, but yeah, question about sending you a mod was serious. I have a mod where I aggregate most of my pork change suggestions. Beef and Foster. Not right now, Doom. I'm busy, but bring it up in a future Q&A or in a future. We can do a mod review like we just did for Kerbo, but not tonight. Modders Union has demands. Shiggy says recarb jump. If carb delays their jump, they jump over the outstretched hitbox and the meat armors it. They both landed around throw range. Delays jump. Oh yes, the like jumping non-meat characters being able to use the jump as like a weird anti-air. That is definitely a thing. I know that's a thing. Spices do it. I think Spices are particularly good at it. By just avoiding the hitbox. It's interesting. I don't know if it feels kind of tight and difficult, so I don't know if it needs like patching out. It's kind of funny. My point still stands that like on reaction, I think meat jump is still very good against all the jumps in the game. But yeah, that is a situation. Darth asks, what is carb jump? So since you're brand new to the game, you may notice that the characters, there's 6 of them, but they're kind of like, what does Smash call them? Not clones, Echo Fighters. There's a lot of shared DNA between these two. Shoot, what are my controls? Trying to remember player 1, player 2. Okay, these two, and these two. The characters within the columns share the same normal attacks, aka light and heavies, for the most part. There's a lot of asterisks on all this. And they'll have usually the same jump, but they'll have different jump cancels, they'll have different neutral specials, different back specials, and sometimes a different like cancel options. But a lot of often like their game plan will revolve around their specials and it will help differentiate them from each other. But some of their strongest assets can just be their heavy attack or their walk speed, which is shared. So as a way to describe moves that are shared among characters, like these guys having the same punch, which is really good, their heavy attack, we don't call it beef heavy or pork heavy, we call it meat heavy because it's the same move. These guys we call the spices, and these are called the carbs. So when they say carb jump, they're describing Noodle and Rice's jumping attack. Oh my god, I just saw the comments about Switch display. I'm so sorry. Oh, this is all going in the VOD. It's wonderful. To explain all that again, shorter version. If you look at the character select screen with me now, because I'm an idiot, we call these the carbs. These are the carbs. These are the meats. These are the spices. And you can tell because they're lined up in the column. So we call them the carbs because it's noodle and rice. We call them the meats because it's beef and pork, and we call them the spices because it's onion and garlic. These are not official names. I don't think I have them written anywhere in the game, like textually. It is the word I use in the code. So if you go into the modder, which I'm too lazy to navigate the menus to, and you look at, say, beef, you'll see that their attacks are the beef-specific things, like lemon, beef lemon, and then the sort of meat generic things that they share with pork, which I call meat gut punch, meat jump, that kind of stuff. So that's what they're referring to. Hopefully that was helpful and not incredibly frustrating for 2 minutes. Thank you, everyone, for spamming chat. I was finally able to see it. Okay. And some people in chat also answered the question very well. Dav says, any possibility we could get it in the desktop version via command line args? No. Desktop version, I assume you mean like the shortcutting? No. No. Even if you can access the JavaScript console at that point, I don't think it's more convenient. And it wouldn't persist across reloads in an easy to edit way like URLs are. So it's just like something that's not easy to do. Kerbo says Hitaka has mods that reach up to 800 kilobytes. Okay, yeah, good to know. Dab says I've started using external editors. Nice, yeah, get some actual like syntax help, highlighting and stuff, and some linting. And it'd be great if I could script them to launch a binary with certain command line arguments to hop straight into testing my mods. I can't think of a... I don't know how I would take command line arguments to the Electron app if you wanted to like automate them as part of actually launching the application. And then if you're having to boot up the application and start like typing things into the JavaScript console, ultimately you cannot upload files without manually going through the file uploader flow for browser security reasons. Your browser cannot look at your outside of the app and into your file system like that without you doing it via the shared file selection, via this. I'm not sharing my screen. This. If you want to get something from your computer into the TLA, you have to go through this dialog, this operating system level dialog. There is a small exception because Electron, the thing that wraps TLA when you're running it in Steam, Electron can interface with your operating system or with your file system because it is running as a node script. But then once the game starts, it's in the browser and it's trapped and it's sandboxed. Theoretically, that is behavior I could add to the Electron runner, but it's a difficult like communication layer to get between the two, and I try to use it as little as possible. Wait, Paul, here's a question. Can you enable the mod editor for mobile TLA and fix it up so it doesn't display weirdly? I could enable it. I don't know if I could fix it to display weirdly. This is the problem. Like, I don't even know when this started happening or if it always happened. I don't know if I can fix it. I think that's just like weirdness of this like JavaScript text editor that I'm just importing called Ace. So I'm kind of scared to touch it. Brigader said, did that script exist where you could use Mystery Meat in Ranked? Yes, I can force Mystery Meat in Ranked. using a URL parameter unless I explicitly check for that. I know I started doing some stuff because in anytime you play online, you exchange a small little packet first that says, this is who I am. It validates that you are logged in as actual you by checking the public key. So this is my super over-engineered way to prevent you from impersonating people. Because theoretically, anytime you like look at a replay that has players in them, you can see their account number. So then could you easily, with JavaScript, just pretend to be that player account? And no, you can't, because it will check it against the public key, and it'll check the encryption. And I think somewhere in that, there's then also the handshake where I do character select, you do character select, and then we share it with each other to create the combined character select output that we can start the game with. I might have added validation in there somewhere at some point to make sure that like if you're playing in ranked and it's not one of like these 6 characters, like it doesn't work. Or maybe I just thought about doing that. I don't remember. It was so long ago. But also to be clear, anything I can do with my fancy little URL params, a very motivated player can do via the command line. And by command line, I mean the JavaScript browser. I shouldn't be showing you guys this, but if you're in a browser, any browser, you can do this. You can pop this open. You can go over to console, and you can do shit. And I don't really try that hard to obscure it, I don't think. Some of the stuff I do, some of the stuff I don't. This is how Meep used to do lots of stuff. So, you're welcome to try, I guess. Have fun. But I will never help you. And occasionally Meep would do something, and then I would ask Meep, will you please tell me how you did that? And then I would close that loophole. So that's why I think maybe I do validate for boss characters specifically. Eastit says, Paul, not sure if this is worth the time, but I do have a mod that blacks out the screen and persists between games until the browser. Thought I'd let you know. Send me that, Eastit. I'd like to look at that right now. Wilton asks, why is Flick the best anti-hero in the game? Because of Spice Privilege. Doom said the same thing, Spice Privilege. People still talking about jumps. Finally caught up to people yelling at me to switch the screen back when I was explaining meats and carbs. Easton says, I thought it was legs and arms in the code. Yes, it is still that in some parts of the code. The sequence IDs, when I did a refactor a little while ago, I started calling them spice and onion. But if you look at, say, like the character setup, this is still legs because this is what the files are. The files, meaning the sprites. The sprites have these names, and I'm not going to go back and rename 600 sprite files. Or, I mean, actually, no, there's probably thousands at this point with all the skins. I didn't want to deal with that. So that's what that is referencing. Arms, legs, and beef. And then, like, garlic is legs B. Because originally that was just like the alt skin for onion, who at the time was garlic. It's a long story. Shiggy asks, Paul, are you aware of the mobile audio breaking when copying URLs from the game? I am not. Slash, I might have heard about that long ago, but I have since forgotten. So I can look into that if you can DM me the info. But again, I probably won't look into it until like late this week, early next week. But please feel free. People asking me to cut the console stuff from the VOD. Also, why are there 2 cryptic cards in modding? Wait, what? Wait, what? How long has this been here? I'm blind. I did not see that. What could be causing that? Let me write that down. I don't know, where would I write it down? General bugs. Note to self. Cryptic carb is duplicated in my menu. Okay. Clothis says, for what it's worth, I checked the character select packets a while ago, and yes, there is validation. Cool. Alright, I did do that. I forgot. Just sent in modding. It is on jump cancel. So modding general, I presume. This is, or mod sharing. Or no, I can't find it. Where is this? I can't find it, you said. Burgeater, hypothetically, if I could set my favorite character to Mystery Meat, would it default to that and want to let me use it? I don't think so. I think when you get to character select, it tries to pick your favorite character if they're available, but if not, it will just default to like pork. It doesn't set it, it tries to pick it for you. Shiggy asked, Paul, are you aware of the display bug or the issue of delay frames between rounds increasing wildly? Even with a good connection, round 1 will display 3 frames, round 2 will show 17 frames. Delay frames being indicated where? Like in the tiny little debug text in the top corner? If so, send me that as well. Lots of bug reports. One cryptic cars is the Bob and the other is the playable version. Unplayable boss rice versus boss rice. Interesting. So yeah, it's a bug that they're not being filtered out because Mystery Meat and Secret Spice have the same thing. So I just got to figure out where they're either being hard coded or where I'm failing to filter them. I sent it in the April Fool's chat. Okay. There it is. Download. Load it up. Or no, it's is this it? Yeah, this is it. It's on jump cancel. Open up the console. If the screen is turning black, I'm assuming that's like a rendering bug. So jump normally. Very good. Jump cancel. Oh. Okay. HTML stuff renders fine. This renders fine. I'm trying to RC. And I can't tell if it's letting me because I have my audio off. And I'm not sharing my screen, am I? God damn it. Okay, let's start over. So, rice. Actions or attacks. Actions. Jump. It goes into seek ID rice jump drill. Rice jump drill is airborne. Huh. Okay, I don't think that should be an issue. Oh, shoot. You know what I might be doing? God, it's been so long since I've worked on this code base. Okay. We're going to do this the old-fashioned way. Q&A time. Blindingly bright. Let's turn on dark mode. Move that over here. Pull latest. I have this like logging wrapper. There we go. Log. Okay. So I'm just not, I'm eating the logs. Hopefully now we'll see something. Nope. Okay. So that must just be for like optional logs, not errors and stuff. Okay. What about if we leave game and we go back in? It can draw those. That is very weird. Thank you, Shiggy. Very weird indeed. Okay, I don't know. I'll have to look into this later. I don't want the state of the game to turn into 30 minutes of me trying to fix a bug. I don't think that's super great content, but that is a puzzler. Dev says I fixed it. If you can identify what in the mod file is causing it, that will help me try and figure out what it is. It's a malformed push box. It's still very fascinating to me that it persists broken. That's the part that's interesting to me. Like if oh, I put in some invalid config and it breaks the game, that's a bug and I should fix it so it doesn't completely break the game or it crashes more elegantly. But the fact that it crashes character rendering forever, that's the part that I'm very surprised at. Because nothing should be persisting between games that would affect that. That's where like a more core frightening bug exists. So yeah, Dab, throw it in, DM me the fix and I'll look into it later. Yeah, Q&A stands for quality and assurance. Alrighty. I changed my scrolling around a bit to try and figure out some stuff. I don't know if there's a channel point redeemed to make Paul shut the screen. I'm so sorry. Part of me, I'll make a confession. This whole format, this state of the game format, is something I thought up on the fly when I first started doing these streams 3.5 years ago, I want to say. The stream setup, the stream overlay, has not changed in 4 years because this was the original lovely design that Amy made for me. There have been a lot of instances where I've thought, like, I should improve this. I should change how this is laid out. I should maybe do a different survey format. I should maybe get a better webcam. And some of these things I have done. I'm not totally, stuck in the mud. But there's also been this kind of feeling of like, well, the game's winding down. Well, we're not going to have too many of these left. Let's just ride it out. Famous last words. I do still kind of feel that way. So this is just like, this is reminding me, when I start doing State of the Game streams for Scramble Heart, I know my camera's dying super hard. It's been dying. Which is funny because it's like only in OBS. I've never had this issue. I take calls on it 3 times a day. I never see the same glitches. So it's an OBS camera thing. But anyways, maybe it's just my USB hub actually instead of a camera. Anyways, when I start the Scramble Hard State of the Games, I hope I take the time to like re-examine and start fresh and do something different. Not for the sake of being different, but to like really reset the format and try and evaluate what's working and what's not. But until that happens, I kind of feel like just riding it out. And one of the things I will keep top of mind is, Paul, you gotta have a better way of doing these transitions. You gotta not freaking get stuck not showing the screen. I bought one of these. Bought one of these used off of a friend on Facebook Marketplace a couple months ago, with the intention of like, oh, I can just press the button to switch scene. Ooh, fancy. Same thing with that green screen I bought and immediately stopped using. It's not plugged in because I didn't have enough USB ports. At some point I wanted to charge my phone, so I unplugged it and then it never got plugged in again. So I theoretically have the tools. I do think the green screen was a mistake. I just don't think it's worth the effort to set up. Lots of streamers don't use green screens. I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, I have a green screen Kerbo. I used it when I streamed the Scramble Heart development for a while. I haven't used it recently. It's sitting right here, right next to me. But it's a pain to set up, and I feel really claustrophobic when it's there, and I can only position the camera a certain way when I do it. It's a thing, and I don't think it's important, a critical part of the quality of the product I'm delivering. And I would sometimes get like weird green screen artifacts that were more trouble than it was worth. So these are things I would love to reevaluate and put my best foot forward for my new, very real game that has a budget that has infinitely larger budget than Tough Love Arena did, because Tough Love Arena had a budget of 0. I guess if you count up like the lawyer fees and the composing fees, Tough Love Arena had a budget of a couple $1,000s. Yeah. So all good food for thought. All things that I'd love to revisit. In the meantime, thank you for struggling along with me. This is part of the charm to me. Tough Love Arena is very indie, very grassroots, very underground. Just trying our best kind of thing. And I gotta cut that shit out if I want to be taken seriously with my new project. So good to know. Good things. Good observations. Shiggy says I gotta send you something. Alright, what do you gotta send me? Last chance for questions. Thank you for listening to that long soliloquy. Last chance for questions. Oh, Shiggy says, give me a second to record. Sure. Raw, so we know. The raw thing. Yeah, I need to redo all of my channel redemption things. I mean, hydrating is great. I love the hydrating feature. That's been a huge net positive for me. I gotta put all the work. Raw was fun, but I don't know where those shades are, and it was kind of inconvenient. To like try and do work while wearing shades. Lemon Hoarder is fine, nice to have. Put me to work on the same thing. Yeah, I think it made sense in a certain context. I don't know if we ever actually did it. Maybe I did it once. If you create a fish, what the fuck, Giant Impact? Are you talking about TLA or for the new game? Break Eater says, I've been meaning to redeem put Paul to work. I'll just ignore it, Break Eater. I'll just take your lemons. Yeah, no one ever wants... Well, Raw hasn't been around for like 3 years. It only makes sense to do when Raw's there. And everyone loves Raw! Not everyone. If you created a fish character for TLA with their archetype. Their archetype in TLA would be Footsy's ground character, because TLA, that's everyone's archetype. Real answer. If they were a fish Option 1. I play into the water theme. They turn into an Aquaman type character where they can control water, which manifests as like lots of different types of projectiles, sort of fountain and like wave type projectiles. That's option 1. Option 2, I emphasize the movement. Fish can swim. It would be pretty similar to garlic, but more pushed, I guess, of than being able to move. It might be nice if it's like Splatoon swimming, where they can kind of low profile stuff. Again, horrible balance implications. But that's another way that I think I could make a fish character flavorful. Or option 3, they're not a fish, they're a school of fish. They're just this like a living cloud of stuff. And then there's interesting options for creating like disjoints, for creating projectiles. If you're a million small things, like a million ants or whatever, but fish. That's where my mind goes. I don't love any of those, but that's my top head. Fish don't have feet though. They can stand on their little flippers. Rice black screen. Shoot. How do I? Okay. I'll just move this over here. Is this someone doing it to you in the lobby? Yeah. Yeah, if it would do this to you locally, it makes sense that it would happen in the lobby as well. Again, something... There's 2 problems. 1, why is it making the screen black? That's fixable. We've had crashes like that before. The bigger problem is, why is this persisting between rounds? And it's persisting between rounds in a really interesting way. My guess would be that if it just like breaks canvas, if something is getting set to like not a number, and then that is being informed to set like the width on the canvas, and the canvas just gets like totally irredeemably fucked. But this is canvas. These are all canvas. So what is enabling these to render okay, but nothing in gameplay to render okay? I guess another thing is if they're put into like impossible positions, if you were to somehow teleport both characters to like negative infinity coordinates, then maybe this is what you would see. Because these are not based on position. These are always, tied to... I'm not sharing my screen, am I? God fucking damn it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's not funny anymore. I'm tilting. I think most of that made sense without visuals. But yes, this is the thing that is confusing and very curious and interesting and scary to me, which is, why are these parts of the canvas still working, but the background, the characters aren't? Doesn't seem like I can force a private match, then go online and force it without a model lobby. Yeah, I think both characters would need to... Yeah, you're not transferring any meaningful information when you join with someone other than inputs. So you would need to make them simulate it on their machine. Crazy. I will prioritize fixing this. This is not good. Okay, last question. Table asks, can I ask about SHC? Yes. Do you plan to make a character with some type of DOT or some other sort of set play secondary win cons? Yes-ish. We had... let me show this. So, am I sharing my screen now? Okay, this is character number 4, Shadow. Oh, is this gonna play audio? Is it making noise? And it's just really quiet? not showing up on my Mac audio capture. Oh, it's just like really quiet. I'll turn it up. Game options. Okay, I think you can hear that. So she has what I'm calling like a global install. Placeholder animation, which is currently signified by the creepy background. Again, all very work in progress visuals and everything. This originally was a damage over time. This was originally just like no matter where the opponent is, they just take damage over time. That felt too strong because she also has a flight, so it felt really strong that you could activate that and then just run away. What we're doing with it right now is essentially a buff. Here, let me actually. So if I take some damage, and now if I hit her, looks normal. But if I activate it, it both gives me a small damage boost and it gives me a slight vampire effect. So you can see I'm healing myself as I'm hitting them. And this buff would persist across tagging. It just ran out coincidentally. Again, there's lots I want to do in terms of like visually indicating this stuff. So you could tag to a different character or you could DHC into a different character and then they could benefit from the buff. I want to try something like that. So the answer is it was DOT, but I thought DOT created perverse player incentives. I am experimenting a lot with, like, I like your framing of like alternative win conditions. The big thing for Robot, if you haven't seen this, is Robot has a charge mechanic, a stock mechanic, where he can load a tape, which now appears over your meter, and now he gets alternative options, additional options. The main one being a sort of reverse beat. So like if normally he would go like boop, 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 that's his 2B, 5B, 5C. That sequence, launcher into restand, but that's ending with a special move, so you have to basically just go into super. Now you could spend the tape and basically restart your chain. You can kind of think of it like an RC with restrictions, because you have to immediately go into a weaker attack. And so I think of him as having alternate win condition because this takes time and it's very vulnerable. That's a placeholder that's not going to stay. That weird little shooting a tape out of his knee thing. So I like creating these little moments of like, do I go in because this character has very short range and he's very rush down focused, or do I take time to get a charge, and then how do I want to spend my charge? And one of his supers, again, used to be an install that gave you infinite tapes. That was too strong. Instead now, it gives you 5 tapes. Normally you cannot get more than 1 at a time. But if you use a super, you can queue up 5 tapes, and then you can do all sorts of stuff. So I'm trying to create moments like that for characters where you can sort of play like a little mini game. I'm so excited for this character. I'm so glad to see everyone else is too. But in terms of like win conditions, I can't think of any that have been super compelling in other games. Like the biggest one that comes to mind is like Marvel 3 Dark Phoenix, and I think that was bad. I think that was bad for the game. So I'm happy to have like character specific little mini games of I want to. Yeah, so like Phoenix Wright. I think keeping it in Marvel 3 terms. Dark Phoenix I think is very flavorful and very memorable, but kind of a design failure, or at least a balancing failure. Phoenix Wright is very fun and compelling, but I think he has the issue where because his ceiling is so... Not ceiling, maybe that's not the right word. Because the benefit is so strong, he kind of has to suck at a baseline, or else you have because you don't want a good character that becomes broken. This is the same issue that they're having in Street Fighter 6. Not issue, but it's the same design constraint you have in Street Fighter 6 with Jamie and Manon, two characters that power up. You have to balance the fact, if they're going to be really strong later, then they kind of have to be less strong at the start. And then is that fun to play games where if you never even get your thing started, you're just playing a shittier character for the whole game. And in Marvel 3, Frank West was also one of these characters. And I think Frank West was like that hit my sweet spot personally. And so I'm down to try and find something like Frank West that does level up, because he's not great, but he's not Phoenix Wright bad. And he gets definitely strong, but he still has weaknesses. So this in the original like 4x2 8 character ideas that we displayed, that was very vague and not explained. The 8th one was originally a picture of Johnny from Guilty Gear Xrd, and the intention wasn't to copy Johnny. The idea was to have a guy that was very cool, that like every teenage boy would want to play as. And in my mind, he was going to be like an explicit level up character. And Robot's cassettes are me dipping my toes into that, because I think the cassettes are really compelling, because it's again even further reduced, but that makes balancing it a lot easier, and a lot less dangerous. But I like the idea that like you can set up things with him. I will show this. I will show one more thing on stream for Scramble Heart, and then I'll probably wrap things up, because I'm just so proud of this. I'm so excited about this. So another, to me, one of the coolest thing about team building, team games, is finding the specific combinations that like really enable something that a character could not do on their own. Frank West sucks on a lot of teams, but with Dante, he's really good. With Tron, my main, Tron could easily get him to level 4 off of like any hit. And that was fun. So another mechanic, I have to go through character selects. This will take a second. It's all the way over there. Nope. So Rosie dash grab, and then we'll go and throw in laser beam. Tron training. So another thing that Robot had, I'm not sharing my screen. I caught it this time, thank God. Another thing that Robot has is this rush punch, which normally goes this far. Pretty fast, pretty far. No real reward on it without super or assist. But he can charge it and go even further. I don't think it's quite full screen. I think it's a little short. And then, if you charge it even harder, like just hold. Then he gets into the level 3 pose, where his little like piston extends. And that goes full screen and gives you wall bounce, with a very dramatic pause. So this is very cool and very rewarding. And it's also the only safe way for him to cancel into his power-up super. This gives him enough time to combo off of it, but like any other, if you try and do this, it's punishable. But this is mostly just like a cute little gimmick. Like this is like a Falcon Punch for casuals to do to each other, because it's so slow and it's so telegraphed. But you can combo into it with like 2 assists in the game currently. And one of them is Rosie's grab, because Rosie's grab assist just takes a really long time. So I might not get this on my first try, because you have to like time it pretty tight. But if I do like, yeah, you do something like that. So I'm definitely looking for opportunities like that, of like team building and building around these kind of narrow abilities. And I think there could be characters that complement him, because like they give him a nice DHC into, because their super is really long lasting, or it sends them really far, then he could safely like DHC into power up, or they give him a safe DHC to do power up into. Because also, fun fact, if you tag him out, while he's powered up, while he has at least one tape, wrong button, then his assist becomes the level 2 punch. So you get the extended range. So also elements like that. That's as far as I was willing to take it. I tried letting him get the level 3 punch, and it was just too strong as an assist. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. His other assists are also tentatively going to change, but it's again going to be like small upgrades. But right now, the only assist he has is Rush Punch. So, thank you, Shi. I trust you. I really appreciate you making bug reports and collecting stuff. But I'll look into it off stream. I'm not going to solve it tonight. I'm very hungry and tired. But yeah, now I'll have to tell the Scramble Heart Discord to check out this VOD. Cool. So to recap, to wind this sucker down, this has been the very slightly delayed, thank you for your patience, and very long State of the Game stream where Paul forgot to switch screens a million times. Just as a reminder, we've got the big April Fool's event coming up, so on April 1st, the game will change. Hope you love all the new content. Super grateful to all the mods, all the mod creators, and everyone else who's in that channel helping us like curate and balance and give notes. Really appreciate it. And I'm gonna be at all these events. My DMs are open. Happy to meet up with someone. If you're at one of these events, you can play the latest Scramble Heart. If you're at GDC, I'll have my laptop on me. You can play Scramble Heart. So just holler. And that will conclude it. The real Black Scream is Paul. He said no. Oh, no. Okay, I'm not reading some of those chats. Alright. Once again, as I'll say, increasingly on these sign-offs, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. It's super fun to see all these people in chat, still playing the game, still hanging out, getting super excited for my new game. Table says, Paul, are you tuning into Capcom Cup? I didn't even know it was happening. I would love to if I had people like watch it with. I don't know. I've been out of like spectating fighting games for a while. Nothing. It's right now. Oh shit. Well, that's good to know. Maybe I'll put it on while I eat dinner. Thanks. Giant Impact asks, can I DM for some coding advice? 100% Giant Impact. I might not get back to you until tomorrow though. Just fair warning. Cool. But yes, as I was saying, this was fun, despite me tilting at myself a billion times and with all the freaking unforced errors. This is always super fun to do. I hope it's fun to watch on YouTube with all the mistakes. And it's a privilege. And I'm extremely grateful. And it just makes me, again, seeing this community and seeing how it's persisted and how it's grown and how it's changed has me so excited for what I can do with the next game. It has me so excited for what I can bring you all next time. So, I hope you like it. And on that note, I will sign off. Have a good night, gamers.